my phone off.
Hi, everyone. Hi again.
Hey.
After the last little video we did regarding 6AI and where we stand in terms of having customized language models and making sure that, you know, when we build these solutions, they're based on actual real scenarios that Perry worked on. Another thing that in our conversation with Perry and Ali keep coming back is how there's a lot of hype on things that people believe versus actually what's true and what's out there and what's believed to be intrinsic truth. I know, Perry, that you're big on philosophy. In many of our conversations, you speak about philosophers. So I'd like you to expand a little more on this, on how, in terms of even 6AI and the way we're building this solution, you believe that, you know, everything you've read has something important in terms of philosophy. I know you speak about Plato, and how is that important in terms
Yeah.
of building something that's based on historical truths, basically?
No problem. The objective truth. But I won't kill anybody today with Plato. I'm more of Aristotle guy, if I would say so. But no, you're right. You know, everything in life has to have a philosophy, a foundation for doing something. Even you go back, you know, what's an algorithm? You can go back thousands of years. It's a way of doing something to make something work out. So you have to have a philosophy. And when it comes to AI, things have to add up. What's the basis? What's the philosophy? What's the foundation for making things up? So you have to adhere to the objective truth about things and understand, in order to prove and to justify what things work, how things work. But what I want to talk about, really is to give you an idea of, how we use AI and how we see AI. You know, if you take the last 1,000 years of technology in society, one thing is objectively true. The choices we make about technology determines the technology that we continue to develop and how we use it. So in other words, we as human beings have the power to decide what type of technology or how we use technology. And I think that's important. So what we're trying to do, and based on our solutions, we are trying to put the power in people's hands in order to build, strategies or whatnot, or how best to use technology in their best interests. So from a philosophical perspective, we believe that technology is a choice. And ultimately, the consumer will determine, the type of technology, once you put it in their hands, the type of technology that suits them best. So we are sort of anti, like, big tech saying, hey, this is the technology from the top down. We're going to shove it down your throat and you have to use it. 6AI is more bottom up. And we see technology as an enhancing tool to help you achieve your goals and objectives. So that's sort of our philosophy in relation to AI technology.
That's great. And Ali, obviously, that's something that you've spoken about many times before. And we spoke about the processes and what we go through and the iterations that you have to go through in the back end in order to achieve that. Do you want to speak a little more about that?
Absolutely. I think what differentiates what we do at 6AI versus what's being hyped up, it has actually its roots in philosophy. Absolutely right, Perry, because it's about, people forget that AI is fundamentally based on a philosophy of learning. In this case, we're talking about machine learning, but it's no different than human learning. And if you take learning at its foundation, it starts with memorization. We've all gone through that. You cannot learn a language without first learning the alphabets, right? And then you start to learn, the next level of learning is actually the structural learning, right? You learn the syntax, how you take the letters, which is basically a visual representation of a sound, and how you structurally put them together to create something called words. And that's the first beginning of meaning, because a letter by itself doesn't mean anything. It's just a symbol that represents a sound. But once you put these letters together, you have a complex sound that represents a human idea, right? Like a book or a bread or whatever concept you want to talk about. And that's just a syntactic structure. But now that you've learned that, and that syntactic structure has given you the emergence of the elemental set of meanings, the meaning of things, of objects, how do you create the next level of structure, which is the semantic structure that starts to combine these tokens of meanings into much more complex meaning? It's not only complex in terms of the amount of information it carries, but it's also complex in terms of the sophistication of artistic expression. So that's why you can take the same words that I'm using and they fall flat on everybody's ears. And it's the same words that somebody like Shakespeare used years ago, but they're a masterpiece, right? The difference there is not the syntax. The difference there, it's the semantic structure, right? And those literal artists are actually people who are good at creating plays in semantic patterns and so on and so forth. It's the same thing that's happening in machine learning. And human beings, being as lazy as we are, we settle for the easy thing, right? Which is we take the brute force approach, we expose our models, our simple models, to tremendous amounts of data, and we hope that the model has seen enough and memorized enough that pretty much it has seen most syntactic patterns of how sentences are put together. But that type of learning is devoid of meaning because it has not learned the more complex, the more sophisticated, the richer structure of meaning. And the problem with meaning is it doesn't have a deterministic, predefined structure like syntax has. There's only one way you can put letters together.
You learn as you go, basically.
Exactly. And there is things that are part of meaning is that it's an emergent property, right? I can play with words that normally no one would even think of using, like when we're using allegories and plays on words, right? Where you say, for example, that can I make this bird dance on the tip of a needle? The imagery is so complex that you would never think of putting these four words in the same sentence, but it conveys a much more complex meaning, right? It's almost, it conveys this idea of impossibility of the task, right? That something as big as a bird could stand on something as tiny as a tip of a needle. And that's the hardest part of learning for human beings. That's why not everybody can become a Shakespeare, right? But it's also for machines. Now, the machine, having been exposed to so many examples of what Shakespeare has written, can take any text you give it and rewrite it to sound like. So structurally, it'll sound like Shakespeare, right? But to have the elegance of creating something new and original of the same caliber as Shakespeare, I don't think we have found the formula for that yet, right?
Which is, I guess it's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but it takes the humility of understanding what's at stake so that we know what the limitations are today.
Yeah.
And it's understanding the limitations that opens the new horizon of exploration to understand where we need to push the envelope beyond where we are today. And
But I
that's
think, yeah, I think that's where 6AI is going with this whole idea of, we see hallucinations, we see, and we're looking at our tool as a tool to support people in making strategic decisions, not a tool that's going to make decisions. I mean, it's really about, empowering people, not replacing people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. And picking up on what Ali saying, this is why for 6AI, we are not, we believe it's impossible. I hate to use the word impossible, but we believe it is impossible to remove human beings from the equation.
Yeah,
Let's go back to some philosophy and Aristotle. He was the one who first, essentially said intelligence is a function of the five senses, hear and see and smell and taste and all these things, right? And then it was Kant who talked about how we reason a priori, so we know certain things by just seeing things, and we calculate hundreds of thousands of millions of things in our head, automatically. So human beings learn a priori also empirically, right, through experiences.
yeah,
Right? And all of those experiences captures the universe. Okay. So with AI now as a machine, the machine has significant limitations, but that's okay. What Ali's also said was important is when machines have what we humans have, enormous memory. So let's take the technology of that enormous memory and let's take the empirical experience-based knowledge of the human being, because the machine doesn't know meaning. The machine doesn't know what
yeah,
the outputs that it puts out. It doesn't know why. Okay. So what we're saying is that you need the human being to guide and to lead this, but you're using machine as an amplifying, augmenting force to harness that memory to help you work faster, okay, and give you more information, right? So just think about it, right? If you're doing a PhD or something, it takes tons of time and you got to research and you got to research. Just think of a tool that can help you, gain that information really, really quickly and help you. But still, the human mind, human creativity, human ingenuity, human innovation is still what leads,
yeah.
because the human has meaning and we understand.
Mhm.
So again, we are not about trying to replace people. We're just trying to use AI for what we believe it was meant to do. Like
Yeah,
any other tool in the last 1,000 years, it's a piece of technology that supports the task that we're doing and helps to make humans better and do things more efficiently and create value. And that's what we see, AI is. The whole idea of, you know, of AGI and replacing, it's a fantasy. And I think life is way too short to engage in things that can never be. For me personally, I rather use a tool that'll help me with my goals and my objectives in life, whether it's in business or personal growth or whatnot. That's what I want a tool to do.
yeah,
I don't have time for science fiction. Maybe others do, but 6AI is not the product. 6AI is a product for leaders, people with vision, people who see opportunity, people who want to build strategy. They want to do it faster, better, and they want to have a powerful tool next to them that can enhance their ingenuity and their vision and their creativity. That's really how we see the optimal use of